Finally, we ask everyone to please remain on mute throughout the screening. Our goal is to provide members with clear, substantive information to help them make an informed endorsement decision. With that, we're grateful for your participation and we look forward to a thoughtful discussion. All right, Tim, I'm going to just make sure everybody is muted besides you. I can hear somebody mute. Mute. All right, everybody is now muted. Okay. All right, Tim, would you like to take a moment to introduce yourself and
Yes,
let our members know how they can contact you if they have any questions?
sure. First and foremost, I'm Tim Alexander. I'm running for Congress in the 2nd Congressional District. You can best reach me by cell 609-233-6321. Perhaps someone could put that in the chat. So I can't always take your call, but I will always call you back. If you send me a text, or you can leave a voicemail. I prefer text, and I'll get a hold of you and answer any questions you have beyond today.
All right, thank you. So we will get started with our first question. The topic is healthcare and prescription costs. What is your detailed plan to protect and improve access to healthcare, reduce overall costs, and address prescription drug affordability, and how will you fund it?
So that's a great question. My plan is this. When it comes to affordable healthcare, I use myself and my wife, Anna, as an example, where we looked at how can we make it more affordable with regard to access to Medicare. And I asked my son, who's an engineer, to come up with a model that would crunch the numbers for us, giving scenarios. And we then plugged in Anna and I's health insurance and the coverage, and we ran comparisons to Medicare. The original comparisons came out really low. So then we increased the cost of Medicare with taking all the parts A through D into the plan, the plan that would be offered. And then we crunched the numbers again. And it came out that if Medicare allowed anybody, any adult at any age to buy into the program, and they have an equivalent plan as what Anna and I have, which is Blue Cross Blue Shield Select 15, you would end up saving almost half the amount of money you're currently paying to private insurance. It was $100 over half. So we looked at that as an absolute head scratcher, but because our health insurance doesn't cover dental or eyeglass, we do get prescription in there. So we put all that together, and it's actually going to come out as a better plan for slightly more than half the amount of money we're currently paying. Opening this up to every single individual in the United States is a no-brainer. I'm going to do everything I can. This is the first step into making healthcare affordable to all. Once we get this up and running over a period of time, the idea says, or the model says that over a period of time, younger people paying into it won't need as much initially. Middle-aged people need a little bit more, and elderly a little bit more. By the way, once you turn 64 and eligible for Medicare, the only change would be you're only paying for one policy. Because as many of you probably heard me say since 2022, there should be one policy because we only have one body. That being said, people of 64 and older will get it at a much more reduced rate than what I would pay, what my 30-something-year-old children would pay, and ultimately a 20-year-old would pay. Because they don't need as much as you are younger, with the exceptions of catastrophic health situations. To me, that is the most obvious way to make this work. As far as the Affordable Care Act, I will join the members who are fighting to restore the funding and expand it. And I'm also going to work with the members who are fighting for the expansion of drug negotiation and more prescription drugs covered. Those aren't my ideas, but I'm going to jump on the bandwagon. My idea for buying into Medicare is self-funded.
Thank you. Right, our next question has to do with cost of living. What is your plan to lower the overall cost of living for families in NJO2, including everyday expenses, and how will it make a measurable difference?
So we all know the price at the grocery store, the gas station, and just overall everything costs more. Even if you're using the big online services such as Amazon, you're still paying a lot more money. I plan on chipping away at each issue. Say, for instance, housing. We need more affordable housing, but before we even start going to the details of what that looks like, we must adjust what it means to be low income. The model currently is not tenable today. A family of four making $100,000 a year is struggling. We need to expand our eligibility to affordable housing to include families of four making around $100,000 a year. I grew up very uh, poor in my humble beginnings. I did not, I mean, my family just didn't have any resources. There's an old adage when you're eating dinner by candlelight and it's not because it's for romance, then you're pretty much poor. So with us, my mom had an opportunity, she's single parent, to get a house from HUD. And so the program was such that part of her rent was set aside. It was based on her income. Part of her rent was set aside for a mortgage. After 5 years, she had her down payment and she was able to buy her home, qualify for a mortgage and buy her home, and it became her own, which she did. And there's the program was such that it was designed for 5 year intervals. So if you didn't qualify in 5 years, they recycled you and gave you time to qualify, meaning you may have to build up your credit or something to that effect. I can tell you, my mom brought that home, and she lived in that home till she retired. She did all kind of modifications and beautifications to it, and then she sold it when she retired and moved down south. But today, if you went down to 799 Southeast Boulevard, our neighbors to, and Vineland, by the way, our neighbors to the left and to the right were the same neighbors that were there when we moved in 1980. So that's a great program, and it works. The difference is I don't want people to put them in these little tiny houses. I want a friend of mine is a mayor in Logan Township. I'm going to meet with him shortly. He has had an architect design affordable housing. Front, back, and inside, these homes are gorgeous. They will drive up the prices in the neighborhoods as opposed to that common refrain is going to drain or drive down the price of my home. So that's with housing. With the gouging that I feel is taking place with the groceries, we need to have congressional hearings. I haven't seen a single one holding these big companies responsible for their record profits while gouging us at the grocery store. When it comes to utilities, we need to make the utility companies invest into the grid. We had to build back better money. The money was designed to help us with the electrical grid. Donald Trump impounded that money, but it dawned on me that, hey, why don't we hold them accountable since they're charging us these outrageous delivery fees that they have to invest, instead of posting record profits, they have to invest a percentage back into the electrical grid and make it stronger and drive down our costs. That's one way. The other is holding their feet to the fire, accountability. You're posting record profits and you're saying that you don't have enough energy. You're doing a supply and demand formula, which is when supply is low, you raise the price to lessen demand. But you can't do that for people who are cold or they need their air conditioning. So it's a full on, as far as I'm concerned, a full on assault to people, and we need to hold them accountable again by holding the hearings, by exposing what they do. This actually can work. I would fight to expand the child care tax credit. That's going to help us bring more money, real money, into people's homes. And crack down on, like I said, the junk fees and the price gouging in every industry. And by the way, looking at collusion, which is antitrust violation, and holding them criminally responsible if that's discovered.
Thank you, Tim. And you will have another opportunity to talk about some of the things you touched on.
Okay, great.
So our next topic is schools. What do you believe the role of the federal government is in public education?
I think we owe a responsibility to return our tax dollars to states to help fund education at a much greater level than we currently do. I have a plan, and I pitched this plan around the district of fighting to legalize or decriminalize marijuana on a federal level to move it from Schedule 1 to Schedule 4 legally. Donald Trump moved it by executive order, and that he doesn't have the power to do that. Once we do that legally, people who have a need for medical marijuana and their prescription cards, companies can cover the cost of that. But what on the bigger side of things, and what actually is going to generate funds, is legalizing or decriminalizing marijuana and putting a tax on it, much like we have tax on cigarettes, wine, spirits. But by law, every single penny of that money has to go to public schools, pre-K through 12 education. It has to go to the districts. If we have a pass through to the Capitol or State House, we know that they're going to carve out a piece for their own use. So we need to make sure that the money goes directly to the districts. We can work with the Department of Education once we get a Department of Education back, to make sure that the districts receive the money. It cannot go for superintendent salaries. It must go to the building. It can go to the salaries for educators to help boost them up. And we have a spending formula that needs to be adjusted, but basically says if one district in a congressional district is spending $25,000 per student per year, then every other school district in that congressional district can apply for these funds to come up to that level. And eventually we get everybody on the same level so that all schools are receiving the same amount of funding per student. That I believe is money on the table from marijuana sales that we can actually benefit from.
Thank you. Our next question is about climate and environmental justice. What is your plan to address climate impacts in NJO2 and ensure fair distribution of federal environmental resources?
Well, certainly we can strengthen our environmental laws, but one of the things that I think is really not a problem, but really just having a huge impact is the AI centers across the country, and we're no different. These AI centers are going up, but they don't have a comprehensive environmental impact study to show what is going to happen as a result of the water usage, the influx of additional noise and carbon into the community. So I propose that we have a federal standard that is specifically designed for AI centers, data centers, so that we know exactly what the impact is going to be to a particular environment, because they're different. But the bottom line is we don't have that. We don't have any safeguards to help us. The Trump administration just announced today that they're allowing more mercury and other harmful metals to be released by coal burning electric plants. That has to be reversed, and Congress needs to step up and put laws in place to do it. Can we get Donald Trump to sign these things? Not likely, but we could get ready for the next administration after 2028 to have signatures on all these plans so that we can lessen the impact to our environment from AI centers, from coal burning plants, and other harmful pollutants.
Thank you. So you touched on this a bit already, but our next question is related to data centers. So given all of the concerns, some of which you already brought up, that are tied to the proposed data centers, what environmental standards for these projects would you propose, and what concrete actions would you take to combat what's going on?
So not to repeat everything I just said, but just a recap, a standard environmental impact study designed specifically for AI data centers, what their actual impact is on a particular community. Limiting resources. There are alternative ways. We know that there's an AI data center in Philadelphia that's not taking any of the water from the environment. It's using a different cooling system. Maybe make that a standard in certain communities. So there's a myriad of things we could do in addition to what I've already proposed. But I think that the key is to act now, act as quickly as we can. And again, I don't envision Donald Trump being agreeable with these things for the next 2 years. But I think the onus is on us, is upon us to be ready with bills, ready to go to committees, or once they come out of committee, to go to the floor for a vote, as soon as he's out of office, because we have to fill in that gap that these 4 years, the first year and then the subsequent 3, are just going to be terrible for us. It's hard to say what we can do other than just get ready for correcting and righting this ship every opportunity we have, and reversing every single nonsensical measure he's taken to harm our environment.
Okay, thank you. Our next topic is affordable housing, which you've already touched on a bit. What is your plan to make housing more affordable and stable for residents across our district?
Well, the plan that I propose is one aspect, but we have a large number of renters in our country and in our district. So rent control is a state level issue, and I don't want to seem like the power of Congress can fix all our woes, but we can look at these big corporations that are buying up houses, flipping them, and then renting them out to individuals because they're on a much larger scale. What regulations do we need to put in place on them? This is something that recently came up, and I'm just in the early drafting stages of what we can actually do to limit the corporations of buying these houses. And by the way, it's kind of ironic when we see that you can get an apartment in Mays Landing for $1,500 a month, and then you get an apartment in Galloway for $1,500 a month, and another one in Summers Point for $1,500 a month. But the bottom line is, how are they all charging the same? And again, we got to look at collusion amongst these landlords, specifically the national ones, because if they're doing this, then their Congress can step in and hold feet to the fire and accountability. But we have to start somewhere. And I say we start with affordable housing. We continue, because we can walk and chew gum at the same time, with investigating and looking into what these large house flipping companies turned landlords are doing to drive up the price.
Okay, thank you. Our next topic is immigration. What is your comprehensive plan for federal immigration policy, and how will you ensure it is humane, lawful, equitable, and effective for our communities?
Well, we most certainly, this is something near and dear to me as a civil rights attorney. We certainly roll back all the initiatives that Trump administration put in play. We return the trained ICE officers to the border where they belong, and we get rid of all these January 6ers and Proud Boys who are running around with balaclavas on and those in a mask and guns and no training. In order to be a police officer in the state of New Jersey, you have to have 28 weeks of academy training. That is after you've gone through a rigorous background check, mental health screening, physical fitness test. And then after you graduate after 28 weeks, you then go into a field training program for another 6 weeks, depending on how you do, 6 to 8 weeks. So the bottom line is, when we look at what it takes to be a police officer in New Jersey, and then we look at see what it takes to be one of these ICE officials, 47 days of training. And they're let loose on the streets with no screening as to their mental health or their issues that they're bringing to the public. And we've seen it play out on our streets in front of our eyes, where these people are killing our fellow citizens without any kind of remorse. There was one video showing them cheering, another one, you see the guy walking, getting in his truck and driving away. And the next thing you know, he's in the hospital with an eye patch and all the other nonsense. So, one of my initiatives, what I want to do is hold HHS and all these ICE officials accountable. This isn't about revenge. I'm a law enforcement. My prior history is 27 years in law enforcement. I'm a former prosecutor. This is about enforcing our laws and prosecuting the guilty. And I want to start from the top all the way down. I'm going to ask Mr. Jeffries, if he's the Speaker of the House, to allow us to form a select committee. It's also called an ad hoc committee, with former prosecutors, former law enforcement who are members of Congress, and to investigate every aspect of this. So when we get a new administration, we can hand off to them a folder basically of every single thing we've done, so they can go out and get their own federal indictments and start prosecuting the individuals responsible for the things that we see on the street. First and foremost, we got to roll back. Right now, ICE has a bigger budget than the United States Marine Corps. We got to roll that back. We got to get these guys back to their core principles and stop the terrorism on the street. ASAP. I can't say it with enough vigor and vim, because the bottom line is it infuriates me every single day.
Okay, thank you. Okay, our next question concerns money in politics. What is your position on the role of money in politics, and what changes would you pursue to address it?
Look, we know ever since Citizen United came in play, politics, money in politics blew up. And this just last night I was at a forum and one of the people were asking about how do we end Citizen United. Well, the Supreme Court kind of put that barrier in place, but we can work around it first and foremost by coming up with publicly funded campaigns. Now, nothing I'm proposing is going to change what individual PACs are doing, special interest groups. They can spend their money. They can't collude or be in line aligned with any particular candidate, but they can still do what they do. But the candidates will be fixed on the amount of money that they raise and being matched by the federal government and the way they have to raise the money, as opposed to getting big donors. They have to go do more, say $25 donations matched by a $150 donation from the federal government. That keeps a cap on how much money goes into these campaigns. We stop looking like we do currently, where we have more interest in getting someone elected than we do feeding people who are hungry or housing people who are unhoused. So it's from my standpoint, grassroots campaigns are the best because it does undercut the amount of money that is needed. But on the same token, you have to be realistic. The rule hasn't changed yet, and I still have to raise significant money in order to be a viable candidate. All I'm saying is that once we're in, instead of going after Citizen United because that's a Supreme Court ruling, it'd be very difficult. We could follow another path by having federally funded campaigns, and that would definitely restrict the amount of money raised and needed for these federal campaigns.
Thank you. Our next topic is constituent accessibility. How will you ensure meaningful, consistent access and accountability to the people of our district?
Well, first and foremost, I hope to have, I will have as many town hall meetings as the schedule will allow, at least 4 a year. I will also be meeting with mayors to discuss what the issues are in particular communities by way of a telephone conference call. And the bottom line is, these proposals I'm putting forth, you got to understand, I'm going to be a freshman Congress member. And so I'm going to come in with all these ideas that I have, and I have all my plans, have ways to pay for them. And they're going to tell me, okay, go sit in the back bench and we'll get to you maybe 2 or 3 election cycles. That's not going to fly for me. It's not going to work. So I have to be accountable to you, meaning I'm going to entice other members to take these ideas and put their name on it and run. But the way I show that I'm of service to you is making sure that you know exactly what I'm doing. So whether my name's on a bill or not, or there's other signatures on top of mine, I don't have that kind of ego and I don't care as long as it's benefiting our district. My goal is to make sure you know what I'm doing, and I will be doing the work, showing you the proof, and then hopefully we will have actual results because we don't have to wait for me to have some kind of seniority to get things done. I think that creates a tremendous amount of accountability to the community, to the constituents. Our constituent services is going to be bar none. It is the absolute requirement of a member in Congress or the Senate to have constituent services. I believe, though, we're going to serve that constituent services should serve everyone, whether you voted for me or not. Return of phone calls, whether you voted for me or not. Return of phone calls if you're pissed off at me or not. That's what we should be doing. It's mind-boggling that we can't get a single phone call back from our current Congress representative.
Thank you. Our next topic is economic justice and leadership. What does economic justice mean to you in NJO2? And how will you demonstrate independence and consistency in advancing your priorities?
Well, for me, economic justice means that your work that you do should lead to enough money for you to live. We have to look at what these minimum wages are, not on a state level, but on a federal level. We are so antiquated and so afraid that somebody's going to get a leg up or they're just going to be given opportunities that other people didn't have. But we need to do this because the opportunities we're creating are for people who, if you use the term minimum wage, they're not making a living wage. We need to change that. We need to make sure that it is a living wage. That's, to me, is economic justice and leadership, to stand up and to fight for that, to make sure that, I'm independent enough from both parties, by the way, because there'll be resistance from both sides of the aisle, to make this work, to find like-minded members, again, from any party, I don't care, to recognize that as rates of grocery rise and gasoline and housing and education go up, we need to make sure it's tethered to salaries so that wages go up along with that. So people, to me, justice is you can actually live, you can actually pay your bills. You don't have to work 3 jobs. You could have some time that you can spend with your family because you're making a living wage. If we did something like that, that would be economic justice to me.
Thank you. Okay, our next question is in regards to Democratic leadership. What is your assessment of recent party leadership decisions, and how would your approach compare?
Well, we've seen it now twice, where the House has stood firm on getting their needs, the needs of our I would say Americans, met by not approving continuing budget resolutions. And then we see on the other side, Democrats, that being the Senate, say, yeah, the whole House voted for this, but we're going to undo it with 6 of our votes. That's reprehensible. I mean, I don't know how you're not screaming to the top of your lungs if you're a member of the House and the Senate just wiped you out. Not once, twice. You held out, you put up a fight, and these people come in and they say, you don't know what you're doing. We're the smart ones. We're the adults in the room. Go sit down somewhere. We're going to go ahead and let this happen. And what were the end results? We got nothing. We got nothing in return. So we're still fighting and clawing for what they promised to talk about. We had an opportunity there, and it just drives me nuts that they gave in not once but twice. So for me, I will call them out. And by the way, I am loyal. I'm a loyal Democrat. I've been a Democrat my entire life. I believe in the Democratic Party and our values. But when we're not doing right as a party, we deserve a swift kick in the behind. And if no one else has the courage to do it, I will do it. And if that means that they're going to primary me every election, so be it. But the bottom line is you're going to know why I'm doing it and why it's important for it to be done. So they stop selling us up the river, down the river, however you want to say it. The bottom line is I believe in federal funding the government, don't get me wrong, but when we're dealing with such obstinacy as we see from the Republican Party, the MAGA wing of the Republican Party, we have to stand firm on our laurels, and we fail to do that. And I got to tell you, I got a big mouth, and I'm going to be using it every time we do stupid stuff like that.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is in regards to the Trump administration. Oh, I'm sorry, is in regards to foreign policy. What are your positions on current international conflicts and U.S. global alliances, and how do they reflect your values? Where should foreign aid be allocated?
So, there are many places where we could be of help. But one of the places that we should not be of help is places who are engaged in genocide or crimes against humanity. And it's tough for us to take this position currently, because I do believe that our current president is engaging in crimes against humanity with his ICE militia out there on the streets. So anywhere where we see that there's injustices, we should not be sending them weapons and support and aid. What we should be doing is helping the people on the ground. It doesn't mean that we have to stage a coup or supply militants, but we should be helping the people who are suffering and use our strength and our might to get to those people and to give them the resources that they need to survive. When we hear about food blockades and denying NGOs to come in and help people, we should be using our strength to say, no, we're going to create a pathway so these groups can get in and help people. And we see it all over the nation. The African continent has what, 6, 7 ongoing civil wars right now. People are dying on the African continent. In Middle East, we see Israel using all its power against the Gaza Strip. We need to Israel's our friend, and the Israeli people I stand with, but not their government when they're committing crimes against humanity. We need to figure out how we stand with our friends, but we have to identify and call out those who are committing atrocities. You have to have the courage to do it. I am not afraid of saying I stand with Israeli people. I do not stand with their government, and I believe that Benjamin Netanyahu needs to be brought to The Hague and held accountable for his actions. And that goes also in Kenya and all the other countries on the African continent that are engaged in civil war. And we see these terrible atrocities occurring, and anywhere it's happening. And by the way, I'm not excluding the United States. We have a president who's also engaged in crimes against humanity, and I believe he needs to be accountable as well.
Okay, thank you.
Although the question was about foreign policy, so I just want to be clear on that.
So the next question is about Trump. How will you approach working with or opposing policies from the Trump administration while representing NJO2? And I know you've already touched on this quite a bit.
Yeah, and I don't see the Trump administration I see them as incorrigible. We cannot communicate effectively to them. We can't show them the harms that they're doing. They see that stuff and they're reveling in it. They actually love the harm that they're doing to people, the fear that they're inflicting upon communities. So my stance, again, I told you about my plan for a select committee to investigate HHS and ICE. I want to do the same thing. Keep in mind, the Supreme Court said that Trump cannot be held accountable for his dealings in office related to the office. It certainly reinforced the idea that he can be held accountable for crimes that he commit outside the scope of his power. $1.4 billion in your bank account screams grift. This man has made it clear to the oil companies. I'll tell you what, you give me X number of $1 billion and I'll give you anything you want. What kind of leadership is that? That's criminal enterprise. So I've had a lot of experience in dealing with criminal enterprises, whether it be a RICO investigation or a Kingpin investigation, as an investigator and then as a prosecutor. I want on the Kingpin side, I want to hold him accountable. Again, put us in a select committee, put us in a room with no windows, let us go to work for the next 2.5 years and build a case that we could turn over to the new attorney general, that person can run and get indictments and hold every single one of these criminals for the grift on the administration side and HHS for the ICE side. And let's get it done. That's not, by the way, to diminish the idea of impeachment. I am not proposing that. I think that they should run for it. But for me, I think that the bottom line is they have to be held accountable, but we also have to set a precedent so the next time the country is duped into electing a fraudster, that person will at least know eventually their day is going to come.
Okay, thank you. Our next question is about gun control. What is your position on federal gun safety legislation, and what changes would you actively work to pass in Congress?
So I think, and let me qualify this, I believe that New Jersey has some of the best gun control laws in the nation. And we made them better a few years ago. I think that they could serve as a model for the national standard. So from my standpoint, I want to make sure that we have red flag laws in place, that we have reduced magazine size, that we close the private sale and the boyfriend loopholes, and we just engage in extreme risk protection. I already talked about the red flag laws. Well, we do so with due process, and we also have a safe storage requirement on a national level. So by putting these laws in place, mirroring what we do in New Jersey, I know will make the rest of the country a little bit safer. I just had this discussion earlier with a potential supporter, and he was talking about, well, I don't like the idea of people taking my guns away and my gun rights. And I said, listen, it's not about restricting honest gun holders. It's about recognizing that they are the stream for the black market. every gun is legal before it becomes illegal. We know criminals don't give a hoot about our gun laws, but if we can slow the flow to the criminal stream, because houses get burglarized, people get robbed. Statistics show that if you have a gun, you're 400% more time more likely to be shot with it than you shooting someone else. It's crazy. So let's stem the flow coming into the illegal commerce by restricting it from the beginning. We do these things, and I believe that we're going to see a reduction in crime, and that was proven when we had I believe it was the 1992 restriction that sunset. And once it is sunset, we saw an increase in gun violence. So we need, and by the way, we also need to plug in and present strongly suicide prevention, because that's the number one use in home of guns is people committing suicide. So we need to recognize mental health as both a component for buying and owning a gun, but also not hurting yourself down the road later on with it.
Okay, thank you. Our final question is multi-tiered, but it's all related. So, among the many pressing issues facing our country today, which one do you consider your highest priority and why? If
Wow.
elected, if elected, what specific steps would you take to advance this issue in Congress? What would your primary legislative goal during your first 2 years? And what would be your primary legislative goal during your first 2 years? And how does it reflect your broader mission for serving in office?
So I firmly believe that our country, the fabric of our country, has been ripped apart by the Trump administration. We are divided, we are in trouble, and we need to come together. We have to heal our country. But before we can heal our country, we have to tend to the wound. And the way we do that is we have to take on these HHS first and foremost, because they are just destroying the idea of America. And when I see these images coming in from different states and different cities, it's heart wrenching to know that these are Americans doing that to other Americans. Now, I say that that's my top priority, but you have to recognize I can't do much with that until the next 2 years. What we can do right out of the gate is start working on the affordability issues, because they affect everybody, whether it be healthcare or housing or grocery prices. I have to say that the United States does not have a shortage of gasoline. Why are we still paying so much money at the pumps? Every time there's a news blip right now with Iran, boom, the gas prices go up. There's no shortage of crude oil. There's no shortage of gasoline. So it's on the speculation that, hey, well, eventually there may be. And we got to stop this. So what we could do out of the gate, and I know this is conflicting my answer, but my strongest priority is HSS, but that's 2 years down the road, because I can't get anything done with the Trump administration. But we can start addressing the affordability issues right now. The Congress members should be working together, figuring out how they could put something together, let Donald Trump put his name on it that's going to help people. And we have to think about him as a child. And the reality is, we draft a bill, we get somebody on the Republican side to say, oh, Mr. President, what a great idea you came up with, and then give it to him, and then let him run with it and make it his own idea. And now we're helping American people. So out of the gate is affordability issues. And I believe we can do that.
Great, thank you. Is there anything you would like to add before we conclude the screening?
Sure. I am, look, I'm very, very humbled to even be appearing before this group, asking for your endorsement. I don't know how much you know about me personally, but I'll say that briefly, I am a Drexel educated individual. I went to Drexel University for my Bachelor's of Science in Business Management. I then obtained an MBA, and then I went over the river and I got a law degree. My career track took me from being 27 years in law enforcement. I was 18 when I went into the police academy. I was 36 when I started my educational quest. These things I tell you because I did them. I did it while working full time. I did it while raising 3 children with my wife full time. And my results or is that I graduated with summa cum laude from my undergraduate, high honors, and graduate, and just say I graduated from law school, but I was licensed in 2 states before I graduated. That's my dedication. 27 years in law enforcement led to me ultimately retiring as captain of detectives in charge of the entire criminal investigation section. Um, these are not things that I normally would brag on, but I think it's worth stating that to demonstrate my desire to work hard is by showing you that I've already done hard work and I'm willing to do it again to represent everybody. When I went to the DA's office, within 3 years, I was on a major crimes trial team. So the bottom line is, again, I'm going to work my butt off for you, but you're going to give me my directions. I'm not going to dictate to you what we need to do. You're going to dictate to me, and then we're going to make it happen. I might have to fine tune some things, and we'll work that out. But the bottom line is, I'm going to do everything I can to advance our district so that we no longer have the 3 poorest counties in the state of New Jersey. We don't have the problems with we see. I'm going to do everything I can to get ice off our streets. So all these things takes time, but I'm going to be going as fast as I possibly can. I just need your support and for you, if you agree with me, to get me into Congress. So thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for participating today. And just one more time before you go, can you please tell our members how they can reach out to you if they have any additional questions?
Sure. You can always text or call me at 609-233-6321. If you want to shoot me an email, you can do it as my first and last name, Tim Alexander, no dots, no space, at Tim Alexander number 4 Congress.com. And I love the feedback. I love hearing more about what I'm doing wrong than what I'm doing right, because doing right stuff doesn't help us get any better. But when you tell me what I'm doing wrong, that leaves room for improvement, and that helps me more than anything else. So I appreciate that. And if anybody wants to take the time to tell me anything that's on their mind, I'm very humbled to receive that information.
Great. Thank you so much for your time today, Tim. Once all of our candidate screenings are finished, we will be posting the videos on YouTube to give our members some time to make an informed decision about endorsement. And once we know who we're endorsing, we will be reaching out to you.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you for your time and enjoy your weekend, everybody.
Thank you, you too.